Dr. Helene Gayle is less than 2 months on the job as the first female and the first African-American president of CARE. Welcome to Live From.
Thanks.
What a pleasure to have you.
Pleasure to be here, Karen.
Well, I want to get right to the video because it's extremely compelling. You're having this conversation with women in Afghanistan. Let's take a listen, then I want to talk about the impact it had on you.
Great.
Do they think that if they continue to become more empowered, that will be a problem with their husbands or with their families? Do they think that will cause some tension?
این باعث مشکل در فامیلتون همراه شوهرتون نمیشه؟
نه، شوهرای ما خوش هستن.
چی تاثیر داره؟ تاثیر مثبت داره؟
What did you take away from this conversation? Obviously, we can't play the whole thing because of the translation, but what moved you the most about this conversation?
Well, I was really moved by the promise that I saw in the eyes of women in Afghanistan. They realize that they really have the power to make a difference in their society. With just a little bit of education, a little bit of new resources to be able to start businesses, they're feeling different about themselves, about their place in society, about their place in their families. They talked about the new respect that their families had for them when they could actually be contributors to the family. They talked about how they had banded together to make sure that more women were voted into their Congress. So women are seeing themselves not as victims, but as people who can really make a difference in their societies and as people who can really be the help make the future of their societies. We talked to some of the young women who had not been able to get education during the years of the Taliban. They're walking 2 miles and more just to get basic education. And all of those young girls, when you asked them what they wanted to be, they all raised their hands and said they wanted to be doctors or engineers because they wanted to be the future leaders of their country.
And that's what you really want to do. You want to empower these women and let them know you can do that. You get various funds from Bill Gates to all kinds of interesting people that want to give back. How do you prioritize where your money is going to go? Because knowing you, you probably meet with all these women all around the world and you think, oh my gosh, how am I going to help all of these people?
Right. Well, we obviously can't help everyone at once, and what we want to do is to put our resources in the things that we know can make the biggest difference to empower women and their families around the world. So we look at providing the basic services that that women and families need, basic education, water and sanitation, basic health services. But we also look at how can we change women's status in society, because we know that the inequity in gender is one of the biggest drivers in poverty. Of the more than 1 billion people who live on less than $1 a day, 70% of those are women. So we're really holding back societies because we're holding back women. So it's a major force, but we have to prioritize the work that we do. We have to make sure that we're focused on the programs that we know make the biggest difference in the lives of communities, that will make the biggest difference in helping people get the tools that they need to lift themselves out of poverty.
Well, that leads me to my next question, because Jeff Kornangi, he covers Africa for us, did this story. It came into us today from Congo, and it's of the military men that are raping and mutilating these women because they basically want to destroy this next generation of a specific ethnic group. What is CARE doing to help those women in Congo?
Well, CARE has been involved in Congo for about 4 years now, and what we do in Congo, just like any other country, is to try to respond to the biggest needs at that particular time. So one of the biggest needs in Congo is to look at the consequences of this sexual violence that's going on with women, providing things like basic medical services for women who have been raped, providing psychosocial services, a huge need as people recover from the horrors of this ugly, ugly act of violence. So we're looking at ways that we can help with other NGO and government partners who are there as we look at what's the best way to develop a response to what's going on in Congo. We want to be able to really be partners in that effort.
When I asked you about who you admire the most, you mentioned Bono, Jimmy Carter, Nelson Mandela. What is it about these men that you admire so much, and why do they inspire you?
There are also women that I admire as well, like the new president of Liberia, or Shirley Chisholm, the first African-American woman who ran for Congress. I think people who are willing to use their celebrity status their fame, whatever positions of power that they may have, to really make a difference in the world. These are people who have stood behind their convictions. These are people who have the force of their convictions, who really are committed to social justice and really trying to make the world a better place. That inspires me. It's wonderful to see those kinds of examples.
We're big fans of Ellen Sirleaf Johnson, too,
Yeah,
by the way. We love her.
She's wonderful.
She is. You've had an incredible family, very supportive of you through the years. Did you know that you would be working for, I mean, you're a doctor, you've worked for the CDC. Did you ever think that you'd be working for an organization like CARE? I mean, what is it about this issue of poverty that has drawn you into such an amazing position? I mean, you have a lot of power in this position.
Well, I went into medicine, into health, because I wanted to have a concrete way that I could address some of the glaring social inequities in our society. Health is clearly one of those. But health is both a cause and a consequence of poverty. And so the more I worked on global health, the more I realized how intertwined it was with issues of global poverty. And so for me, this is a way of addressing one of the issues that's near and dear to my heart, health, but from the broader perspective of the root causes, the underlying causes that lead to glaring inequities of health, but more broadly of poverty.
Dr. Helene Gayle, what a pleasure to have you with us.
Thanks.
We're going to be following you in your new role. Keep us updated on the progress that you're making.
Great.
Thanks for your
Pleasure.
time.
Thanks.